God it's Friday. Welcome to your new family. It's the Owaze Show with your hosts Fire and TG every Friday from 6 to 8 p.m.
The best music, entertainment, spicy topics, and so much more.
Owaze, let's spice it up. It's literally spelled the way that it sounds, guys. So it's like glossophobia. Yes.
And it's very common. It affects about 75% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's something that we all have in common. It's actually one of the few things that we all have in common. But we'll talk about the fear, the things that we've experienced of trying to speak in public. You guys can tell us about your experiences as well. But every class presentation, every thesis, dissertation, defense, job interview, there's so many points in your life in which it is so crucial.
And you can't avoid it.
You can't skip over it. You can't, there's no way to get past it besides going through it.
And I think, the funny thing about it is the fact that, like we said, when you're afraid of something by any means, you're going to try to, avoid it. What is going on?
You're like, what's happening?
I hear a sound. in the mic. Yeah, I'm going to get to a musical break because, I don't like how that sounds. But I want us to get to a track. And like we said, we will come back and talk more about, just fears pertaining to public speaking, but also just fears in general and how we cope and how we try to manage them, because it's a real thing, regardless of whatever it is you're afraid of.
We'll talk about our phobias too.
Yes.
Just cause.
I'm about to cut this off because the sound is so Let's get to a musical break. And again, you guys can find us under our social media, Owaze Media. That's AWAZE MEDIA. We'll be back with more. Don't go anywhere. Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to your new family. It's the Owaze Show with your hosts Fire and TG every Friday from 6 to 8 p.m.
The best music, entertainment, spicy topics, and so much more.
Owaze, let's spice it up. Well, we're back at it again and got rid of that sound that was in the background. We apologize for that, y'all. Welcome back to Owaze. Me and TG during the musical break, we were talking about our top 5 favorite rappers.
And I didn't get to ask you, and then we went on air.
I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
During the musical break.
Oh, damn. You don't want the people to know? Mine is weird, which I'm glad y'all don't know.
Okay. Tell people
I listen to all types of music. So it's very hard for me to make a top 5 out of a single genre.
Yeah.
But I was telling Howie, I said I love Snoop. Snoop because not just as a rapper, but just as a human being. I love Snoop.
Yeah.
Absolutely adore Snoop. He can do so many things. I was asking if Doja Cat was a rapper, and if she is, she definitely belongs in that list.
She does both, yeah? Pop, rap?
Yeah. We said J. Cole, and Jay-Z. My bad.
Yes.
I should clarify. And last but not least, Post Malone.
When you say J, it's automatically Jay-Z.
Yeah.
It's not J. Cole. Y'all,
Take your time. Yes. J. Cole needs to be spelled out.
Yes.
But yeah, those 5 I feel like I listen to the most. I listen to a lot of old school, so a lot of Mos Def.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, Wu-Tang, a lot of... I used to listen to a lot of G-Unit as well.
I listen to Rakim.
Yeah.
So, yes, a lot of old school. I live there. I sleep there. My heart is thank you. Okay, mine... Man, I asked this question without even thinking about it.
There you go.
No, for sure, Jay-Z's there.
Okay.
And another one for sure, and I've used to be so obsessed, M is there for me.
Oh, yeah. I've never been an Eminem fan.
My
and people
God.
always freak out when I say that.
I was such a huge Eminem fan. I understood his entire life story from his songs. I was obsessed with Eminem. I like the fact that he's this angry white man in hip-hop. I love this man. So for me, J, M, Lauryn Hill. I consider Lauryn Hill.
She is.
Like
the Fugees era, yeah.
Hey, she's in it for me. Pac is in my list. You're like, damn.
Yeah, Biggie, Pac, of course.
So, damn.
She's like, what? Is Ye in there?
Huh?
Is Kanye in there?
No.
He got kicked out of everybody's list.
Kanye got kicked, and the thing is, Kanye's a genius. I don't take that away from him in terms of just his musical contribution, but he's not in my list.
Yeah.
So for me, like I said, J.M., Lauryn Hill, Pac. Whew.
So it's hard to fill the 5th spot.
The 5th one is hot. It's hot out here. I don't know. I love Nas as well.
Sure.
It might be Nas for me.
I think the only really Nas I did is Distant Relatives.
What?
And that's, I like that collaboration.
What about Illmatic?
Yeah. But Jay and him had beef back then, and you had to choose a side.
I loved it. For me, hip hop beef, since I grew up in the culture back there, for me it was like, ooh.
You had to choose a side back then, and I chose a side.
The fact that I put 2 of the big ones in my, they were rivals in my top 5. Yeah, man. Nas, there's something about Nas.
Nas is very talented.
Uniquely just himself. I feel like he goes in his own lane. Just, I don't know. I feel like, especially current Nas, he ain't bothering nobody.
But he minded his business.
Exactly. But that's me and TG. Me and TG telling you guys our top 5 favorite rap artists.
A genre every week just to see where we are.
Right? To see where we are currently, because it might change from where we used to be.
And then we could switch up genres, because there's R&B, there's, just straight up hip-hop, there's...
trap.
Afrobeats.
There's a lot of everything. I love where music is going in terms of just diversifying music. But yeah, back to our topic at hand. Welcome, yo.
Speaking.
That's what we wanted to talk about today. This came from the fact that, me and TG, while we were at this event, we were just having many conversations, even in the midst of it. We're like, how you feeling? You're like, I'm good. I'm ready. I got this. And we realize that it's because we've had the experience of talking in front of people that we're actually able to feel at ease. And we know that's not the case for everybody. I have my fears. Public speaking for me is not one of them. What's your fear?
Ants.
Oh yeah, TJ told me this, and I was like, what?
Fire ants, not regular ants, but fire ants. Like I said, public speaking, I'm not 100% immune to the fear of public speaking. You get the little, your heart skips a little beat, you get the little jitters right before you go on stage. But one of the things I want people who have a fear of public speaking to know is that there's a rush that comes from it too. Like
an adrenaline?
Yeah. Especially if I'm talking about things that I'm interested in. Like hosting for other people, when I'm in, I'll do my job, I'll be professional, I'll get out. But if you give me an opportunity to address a large crowd of people about something that I'm personally invested in, goodness gracious, I get so happy.
I think you feel rewarded after it's over, right?
Yes. You feel just so triumphant. It's ridiculous.
But I think people who also overcome a fear also feel that same level of a rush. Because my fear, so TG said her fear is ants.
I'll explain later why.
You want to tell them now?
Alright, I was a kid. There was a gap between my door had a gap underneath it, and there was food left over in my bedroom. And in the middle of the night, I woke up to just painful biting, and I woke up and I turned on the lights, and I was covered in fire ants. And I mean the little Minakasutugundan, which is what I'm referring to. See, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. And ever since that day, if I see one ant, I will leave. I don't care if it's your wedding. And this happens to me a lot at weddings, because they always do it on the greenery, the grass.
Yeah.
And I'll stand there, and if I feel something crawl on my leg, I'm going home. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to have to miss your wedding. So,
whoa.
My whole face has goosebumps. Even talking, I don't even like to mention ants. So I have this really, really, really big phobia of ants. They're small, but I hate them.
Huh.
That's me.
No, that's
reasonable.
Your fear.
Reasonable.
That's fear,
that
man.
Is, well,
it's not going to be something you can explain. Yeah.
You have a couple.
Yes, I have 2. I have 2 fears. One of them, and I've had this fear because I was gonna say spiders, fear, spiders. And I've had this fear when I was younger. And before, when I was younger, it was any spider. It doesn't matter the size of the spider. If I see, and the thing is, the reason why I'm afraid of spiders, like, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, yes, you're like, I'm afraid of spiders, but my particular reason, I don't like anything that moves fast.
Yeah.
That has a whole bunch of legs and that moves fast.
It's creepy. I get it.
Freaks me out. I'm like, how can you? And so, as I got older, if it's a small spider, you're going down. It's like, I'm about to crush you. But, and if the spider's thin, it's okay. The thicker and bigger the spider is, the more it freaks me out. Because now I see that you're thicker and it feels like you're bigger than me.
You can beat me up.
It feels like I actually can't take you down. And this happened where I recently, guys.
Yeah.
Recently, child. Yeah, I don't understand. And the place, my house that I live at, like, it's basically bug free. Like, in the sense that I don't have, like, terrifying things that I find in my house, but I happen to leave the windows and the doors and everything open. And child, I was like, all right, it's night, let me close everything. And then made dinner, was about to, you know what I mean, go and watch Netflix, open the light, and there is a spider that I'm sure came from outside that is the size of a hand that was on the wall. And I was like, like literally going to hyperventilate. And I was like, oh my God, I have no one to ask for help. And I had to face my fears. I was like, Lord, give me the courage of David when he faced Goliath, because I cannot do this. But anyway, killed the spider, and I felt the rush after that.
Yeah,
I was like, I did it.
Fear comes with a reward for sure, right?
Oh man, I was like, I did it. And so for me, I felt that. No, that doesn't mean that I'm not scared anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, and now when I walk in my house, I'm like, where you at? Where you at? And I'm also afraid of clowns, guys. But that happened as I got like in my like preteen ages. So I have two fears, like TG's son.
I can't wait for you to discover me around ants, or me discovering ants. I can't wait for you to see just how ghostly white I turn. It's so dramatic. I completely lose sight of the thug that I am.
But the reason why we brought this up, guys, is because, like we said, we're talking about fears, and we know that a lot of people, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, they report that public speaking is an anxiety that actually affects 73 to 75% of the population.
Yeah, so many people manage to at least manage it. You can't always control it, but some people tend to manage it and get past it. But sometimes your fear is significant enough to cause you problems when you're at work, when you're at school, or even in social settings. Because I think the way Ethiopian societies are set up, the person that speaks up and the person that speaks in public kind of gets everything. All right? That's the measure of where you're going to go in society, is you being able to speak up. And for people that have a full-blown phobia of speaking in public, it could be such hard work and just so hard to navigate your schoolwork and navigate even in a professional setting. Because like I said, so many places demand that you speak publicly, and nobody cares if you have anxiety, if you have a phobia, if you get a panic attack. Because I've seen people have a panic attack from being asked to speak in public, from being asked to do presentations.
100%, because you're facing a fear.
Yeah, and I've seen people rehearse weeks in advance, months in advance, and just try to get, themselves
prepared.
Ready. So you're not alone, for one.
For sure.
It's a subset of social phobias, the fear of social situations. Most people who have this fear of public speaking, which is called glossophobia, they don't exhibit symptoms of other types of social phobias, such as fear of meeting new people or fear of performing tasks in front of others. In fact, a lot of people with glossophobia are able to dance or sing on stage, but the second you tell them to speak, And mine is reverse. I no longer want to be able to sing in front of people.
Singing is like, even I know people who actually sing.
Yeah.
Like the moment that they're like sing, even if they have good voices, it's so much harder to do.
Because when you freak out, you're like, the way you breathe changes, and it entirely changes your ability to sing too.
Yeah.
So there are very common symptoms if you're not even aware of the fact that you have glossophobia.
Yes.
So if the thought of having to get up on a stage or in front of people and speak, if you start sweating profusely, if your heartbeat just skyrockets. One of the things I struggle with is dry mouth. I need to be able to have water close by, because my anticipation of getting up on stage and speaking, my throat gets dry, and I'm like, I need to hydrate. Difficulty breathing, nausea, headaches, muscle tension, and the need to go to the bathroom.
That that actually might be the case for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I mean, it basically is stating that public speaking anxiety is actually a social anxiety disorder. So within a social setting, that anxiety arises. But I get it, because a lot of the things that people are afraid of when they speak is the fact that you get brain freeze.
Yeah.
Like, you're like probably already prepared, you have notes, you're ready to speak, you've practiced for as many, times as you've practiced, and the moment that you get in front of people, brain freezes, and you're like, how did I forget everything that I was going to say?
Yeah.
And it's actually a lot common than you think that people's brain freezes initially. Does that happen to you when you ever go in public and speak?
Yes, sort of. So there's this thing called Toastmasters.
Yes.
These are, a while back on a different radio show, I got to interview one of East Africa's best Toastmasters. And we were sitting there, we were interviewing him, and we were like, well, would you consider us good public speakers? Because, we're rather good at talking about things for a very long amount of time with no breaks in between. He was like, no.
Ooh.
He was like, I constantly hear you say words like, I'm like, we're not allowed to say that? You don't want me to compose my thoughts even for a second? He was like, no, if you're a Toastmaster, you have to have a very fluid motion of speaking. You can't be saying like I'm saying literally as I'm saying this. He was like, words like that just means you're stalling so that your brain can catch up and tell you what to say next. I was like, it's preferred to just have a moment of silence. Don't say
Exactly. I was gonna say that.
He was like, don't say in between, sentences. And I was like, damn. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to stop being like, because that's how I let you know I'm thinking about it. I'm working on that thought. Give me a second.
But it's also that you're actually making the effort to be like, because it's kind of like engaging.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can be quiet, and the thing is, I've watched interviews of individuals when they'll ask them a question, and they'll just
be quiet
and ponder, and then answer, and you're like, you're lucky that you're popular, because who the hell is just gonna look at you while you're literally silent for 30 seconds. It's uncomfortable. And so I was just like, okay, maybe that's a more formal way, or it just shows that you're a better speaker when you don't say and maybe repeat the same kind of words again and again, because people catch on to those.
I was like, Obama says it, I'm allowed to say it.
Obama's like,
Obama ums a lot.
Obama ums, like when he speaks, there's certain gestures that he does. I love it.
I was like, if he can do it, I can do it, but I was about to say, this is, once you notice it, it becomes extremely annoying. The thing about the fear of speaking in public is it's very subconscious for me. It comes from a place of, in the back of your subconscious, you're thinking, okay, what if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough?
Yeah.
What if they don't understand what I'm saying? What if they'll make fun of me? You know what I mean? There's 1,000,001 thoughts. They're not very pronounced, and you are not actively thinking about every single thing that could go wrong. But the collective of those thoughts of your subconscious being like, don't do it, something bad is gonna happen at the end of the day, is what is causing that fear of Because, like I said, for most people, if you were allowed to talk one-on-one, you could get your point across easy.
Sure.
But the thought of so many people just looking at you, child.
And the thing is, I think that a majority of people, when they're going on stage, they're thinking about what they have to say. They're also thinking of the fact of, what if I mess up? What if people laugh at me? What if I'm rejected? You know, and those thoughts collide. And it's interesting because it says here that prefrontal lobes of our brain hold both memories and are sensitive to anxiety. Mm-hmm. So imagine when you're like, I've memorized what I'm going to say, but at the same time, I'm scared as hell that I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. And then, boom, you experience, brain freeze. And then your entire, it says your brain shuts down. So the frontal lobe disconnects from the rest of the brain. And then it makes it harder for you to be able to remember the things that you wanted to say. So if you're like, why does my brain freeze? This is the exact reason.
This is why, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's, now I can't.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
Damn. Yeah. Excuse me.
Want some water, Mama?
No, I'm good. Another part of the fear of public speaking is what you put into your head. So one of the ways to treat glossophobia is something called cognitive behavioral therapy. Mm-hmm. So if it has reached a level in which it is extremely debilitating, mm-hmm. it stops you from doing your schoolwork or it stops you from doing your job, you're expected to seek therapy.
Yeah.
And be able to work these things out with a professional. Mm-hmm. And they will teach you or program you in ways to replace that fear when you walk into moments where you have to do public speaking. And they switch it out for more positive talk, positive attitude.
Yeah.
For example, if right before a speech you're thinking, I'm going to mess up, you're forcing yourself to mess up. Mm-hmm. It's like if I said, don't think about an elephant. What is the first thing you think about?
Obviously, an elephant.
Exactly. So, because you put that fear front and center in your mind, that's the only thing you can focus on, and that is the only thing you will go towards. So, there are ways to help you. It doesn't always have to be therapy. I think with practice and talking to a mirror and talking to small groups of people, you can work your way into learning how to speak in public. I don't like how people associate the fear of speaking in public with the fear of speaking in a second language. So, schools, for example, mm-hmm. our curriculum is all English.
Yeah.
From a certain grade forward, you're expected to do presentations in English. Even the teachers are like, you can't be using your mother tongue. So, I noticed a lot of my classmates had that struggle of
expressing themselves in another language.
Where they're like, mm-hmm. I don't speak English perfectly, so somehow what I say is not respectable enough, which is not the case.
No, it's not.
Yes, it would help, to be able to speak the language well, but at the end of the day, it is your second language, and the only way to get better at it is by continuing to speak it.
True.
So there was such a difference between me and my classmates of me being like, I want to go first. Let me present. I was that child. I'm so sorry.
Oh, wow.
I have to apologize to everybody I went to middle school with. Partially apologize, partially not, because my teachers would let me go on for hours.
Oh, God.
And the class would just end, and none of the others would have to present.
Let you go on for hours?
Yeah, my teachers used to make me teach their classes. It's not
That's
fair.
Actually crazy.
It's rude. But like I said, it took the attention away from my friends who did have anxiety, so they no longer had to do it. But at the same time, I just went on improving my skills while my friends didn't get the chance to practice it. So I do want to apologize. I was that annoying nerd in the class that always wanted to do presentations instead of exams, like written exams.
Yeah.
Our teacher would be like, do you want to present the assignment or do you want an exam? And I'll be like, let's present it. Let's do more public speaking. And everybody would just be like, I hate her.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I apologize.
But also, let's talk about for those who actually do mess up, mm-hmm. and what you do in situations when let's say you do make a mistake, how do you recover from that? Because there are probably going to be situations in which things don't go as smoothly as you want all the time. And that's happened to me before.
Yeah.
Where I'll speak and then I make a mistake, and in the heat of the moment, I've trained myself to not react. If I show you that I make a mistake, you're gonna know I made a mistake.
Yeah.
But if I just continue on in a fashion that, you know, that doesn't show that, you know, I've messed up.
You don't know if you messed up or not.
You don't know what's happening.
Thing.
Exactly. So I think even if you do mess up, if you do make a mistake, just composing yourself where you're not like, oh no, or you know what I mean, or where you're trying to like fumble, or you're like, you know, just like, you know, disheveled. Like what you want to do is be like, it's okay. And in a sense, you're kind of comforting yourself and you're like, let's keep going. It is okay. And accepting the fact that you're human, you make a mistake, we all do, and that you can continue and still end well. I've done that where I talk and I'm like, I messed up, let's keep going. And nobody has picked up on the fact that I messed up. And so even if you do, it is still okay and you can still end well. And everyone's like, what? Like if you tell people, you know what, I actually messed up, and they will have no idea.
That's really funny. Yeah. Even in circumstances where you're expected to correct yourself, like for example, stuff you do in front of the press, you can't just.
No.
Yeah. So learning how to get up on stage and begin speaking is difficult, but starting to give your presentation or your speech and messing up halfway through it's even worse, because now you feel like you validated your fear.
Yeah.
So the ability to compose yourself, stop for a second, apologize, fix it, and continue, man, like, it takes a lot of practice.
You don't want to, for example, pull Kamala Harris.
Because
what she did, for example, if you're in these formal situations in which you have to get your facts and figures right.
Yeah.
So she was talking about the, you know, America's partnership or their relationship. She was supposed to say South Korea.
She said North.
She said North Korea and didn't say, excuse me, South Korea, which she could have easily said.
Yeah.
She bulldozed her way through and kept it the same pace and said North Korea. And I was like, yeah.
And the next day it was on the news. No, the same night it was on the news.
And she could have easily said, apologies, South Korea, and everybody would have been like, we understand.
We get it. We mixed
the fact that she thought, and I'm sure she heard herself, and to keep going, that's where, like TG said, it is okay to be like, dang it, I messed up on the inside, and then just be like, excuse me, and then correct yourself and go on. So I agree.
Yeah. Let's go for a break. When we come back, we'll
we're basically done with the hour.
I was like, do we give them music or no? I want to talk about things that you can actively do to make yourself better prepared to speak in public.
Okay.
All right? Because it's not enough to talk about the fears. We need to talk about managing anxiety. We need to talk about boosting your confidence. And we need to talk about, hey, how can you be a better public speaker? And we're not saying this from a place of, we're perfect at it. No, we're saying this from a place of, we're bold enough to try.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if I'm a crash and burn, I'm crash and burn. But you know damn well I'll be there and I'll try. So I have like this one trick I use every single time I have to speak in public. And I'm going to share that with y'all in the second hour. It's not even now. It's like at the end of the show.
I think what's going to happen is this is going to be in the second part, because when we get back from the musical break, I think we're just going to say our byes. Yeah. But because we'll be back in the second half.
We could do one tip before we leave.
Sure. All right. Let's get to the track. And then we'll be back in a bit. Don't go anywhere.
Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to your new family. It's the Owaze Show with your hosts Fire and TG every Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. The best music, entertainment, spicy topics, and so much more. Owaze, let's spice it up.
Yo, welcome back to the Owaze Show. Me and TG still talking about music during the musical break.
Yeah, I don't know what today's going on. What's going on today? What today's going on, child? But we've been talking about music every time we get off. Do we need to do a music episode or something?
We might. Because I don't think we've ever really talked about our love for music.
We could do a full separate show of just on our taste in music and our love for music and helping you guys discover tracks.
Mind you guys, me and TG, like, yes, we're like core like R&B listeners, particularly like old school R&B, like the, you know, soft, like, you know what I mean, because we're talking about that now, like that soft, like soulful, like, you know what I mean, like R&B too, that's even current, that maybe a lot of people
is popping right now.
It's beautiful. And so not only do we listen to that, me and TG have a wide, I think, just like a wide range of like genres that we listen to.
Yeah.
Because yes, that's what I love to listen to, but I listen to hip hop, I listen to alternative, I listen to like a whole bunch of other things. So I feel like an entire show might be necessary.
True. And I, because of my fiance, I've been exposed to this entire world of Tiki Torch white music.
Oh gosh.
Not in a bad way. Like, the music is actually really good.
Yeah?
Like, really good. There's some weird things in there where he'll listen to like German hard, like heavy metal, like Rammstein or something, but you find such gems in rock and roll. And in my entire life, I've never been the type of person, besides listening to maybe The Script or Maroon 5 or something.
Well,
that was what I thought rock and roll was.
Get out, woman.
Okay, so Aerosmith. I loved Aerosmith. I've always loved Aerosmith.
That's part of rock and roll.
But even then, you could take an Aerosmith song and turn it into R&B, as far as I'm concerned.
But that's what a lot of hip hop artists did.
Yeah.
They actually did mix it.
True. But
the fact that you got Maroon 5,
that to me, The Script, Maroon 5, Daughtry, The Fray, these were rock bands. And now living with him, finding out about, you know, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I love these songs. Mind you, I genuinely listen to these songs. But now my world is discombobulated in a way that my taste in music is peculiar, to say the least.
I love it though. I love the fact. And the thing is, music, it allows you to go back in time. It allows you to like be in the present moment. You get to explore even a lot of parts of yourself. So we'll definitely.
We'll do a music show,
we
maybe.
Should definitely do a show.
I like the sound of that. But for today's topic is not that. Today's topic is fear. Phobias, and it's specifically the fear of public speaking and the anxiety that comes associated with it. Mm-hmm. We told you guys we will start talking about ways in which you can try and overcome them. The very clear and obvious one is to prepare.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. If you know your material, if you're prepared, it's easier. Whether you have a fear or not, you're expected to be prepared.
Don't play yourself like that. If you have the fear and you do nothing to be able to combat it, you're just preparing yourself for an entire disaster.
Yeah. So prepare. Practice in front of mirrors. Play music while you practice, by the way. That helps too. It has a calming effect. Listen to music right before you have to get on stage.
Sure.
Beautiful way to calm yourself down. So being nervous is normal. Practice and more practice, and then practice some more and prepare. That definitely helps ease off some of the anxiety because you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
You're like, I could tell the whole world I know exactly what I'm talking about. It gives you a level of confidence. So that's just the beginning of the tips. When we come back, we'll talk more about what you can do to become a better public speaker.
You know, and like we said, fears, like, yes, we try to avoid them as much as possible, but when you do have to face them, to be able to, like I said, me being faced with my fear of my big hand-sized spider, I dealt with it simply because I was like, I have to deal with the situation. So for those of you who do have this fear, we want to give you these tips so that you can be like, okay, if I am faced with this public speaking situation, I can master it to my ability, to the best of my ability. So we're going to talk about that in the second half. Don't turn the dial. We're going to still play, you know, I think we're in the mood of playing a little bit of hip-hop today.
I see that. I see that in there.
I see. So if you guys want to hear anything, or if you guys want to talk about your public speaking, you know, accomplishes or even embarrassing moments, you can tell us all of it. We'd love to hear it. Hit us up on our Telegram at Awaze Media. AWAZEMEDIA.
Yeah, when we come back, we'll talk to Yikana. It's a very long thoughts. We'll talk about that later. I'm reading it while I'm speaking, but we'll talk about that when we come back.
No, absolutely, guys. Do not go anywhere. We'll see you in the second half. This is Oaze.
Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to your new family. It's the Oaze Show with your hosts Fire and TG every Friday from 6 to 8 p.m.
The best music, entertainment, spicy topics, and so much more.
Oaze, let's spice it up.
We're back for the second half of the hour. Welcome back to the Oaze Show here on ABC 104.7.
We gonna mess up the night. I haven't heard this album.
This album, I have heard a few songs. I told you Church Girl.
Yeah. Bonse. We're talking about Bonse, if you just tuned in.
Yeah, we're talking about from her Renaissance album.
Yeah.
I listened to it. That's what I'm gonna say. So
the Beehive might be coming for you, so you gotta watch what you're saying.
No, I listened to it, but I was telling TG earlier that I listened to the Kendrick Lamar album on repeat, and I was like, ooh, this one's deep, isn't it? And so TG was just like, yeah, I'm gonna check it out for sure. It felt like an angry album, and that's not where I'm in.
It's not a place I'm not in a place of my life right now. So.
But it might be in the sense that all of us heal differently, and he's going through his healing process in that way.
Okay.
And sometimes we're not vocally angry, but we might express, exactly those feelings internally. So I was like, ooh, because sometimes I can relate to things that I'm like, why? And that's just a form of healing. But anyway, everybody heals differently. I thought it was a wow. I was like, dang, this song is. But anyway, y'all, welcome back to the Oaze Show. We're talking about the fear of public speaking. We talked about our fears, but also public speaking fears.
True. We were talking about it in the sense of phobias, and it is one of the most common phobias. Is just the sheer freak out that happens when you're asked to give a presentation in class, or do it in front of coworkers. And it's one of those fears where it affects your life on a day-to-day basis.
Oh yeah.
Like my fear of ants, I just have to avoid ants, bro. I just won't be anywhere that has too much grass and it's wet or cold enough for fire ants to gather.
How have I known you this long?
Because I refuse to go on that type of grass. I refuse. I will not. Places like Taste of Attis, for example.
Yes.
I will find a dry patch to go stand on.
So that's the thing. Your fear isn't recognizable, or at least I have not recognized it. You might have been feeling that way.
Yes. One has to bite me for me to enter into freak out mode. I just take precautions beforehand. I'm very aware of my surroundings, as we know.
Got it.
So even when we go to places where you have to go sit down on grass, I refuse to sit down on grass. Are you kidding me? I do not want to feel the grass. No, I do not want to feel the grass. I will stand or I will find a chair. I'm not sitting on grass.
I never noticed, bro.
Same.
You did it well. No, you've covered it very well.
Everything I do is very slick. But the fear of public speaking, it is a social fear, and it associates itself with everything we do because our interactions with other people are mandatory. You cannot go through life without ever having to speak in front of other people, especially a group of other people that are just listening to you.
And it's it might be in front of a classroom, it might be, again, in terms of, a presentation, when you pitch to your bosses, it might be... You don't
so many, yeah.
And it's crazy because I think people with the fear might try to avoid it as much as possible, but like you said, even for those of us, if you have a fear of something else, like heights or spiders or like TG, ants, in some way, even those fears, you cannot go through life and not encounter them.
Exactly.
Yes.
But this, like I said, this is one of the fears that hinders your progress in life. You want that promotion, you're going to need to get better at talking to clients and pitching ideas to clients. You know, you want to pass a class, you want to graduate from your first degree, from your second degree, you have to present your thesis in front of the panel. So it's one of those things that's so hindering to your career and to what you want to do into your education, that it's definitely something worth working on, especially parents. If you notice that your kids have this fear at a very young age and it's very debilitating, it is up to you to hype them up and give them the confidence to go out and try. I think when you're a kid is the best time to practice. I think the reason I never fully developed the fear of public speaking is because I was incredibly young when I was just shoved up on stages and told to, you know, do theater or sing or read a poem or whatever, like debate team. So I was forced into the spotlight by everybody since I was very, very, very young. I've always been on stages. So it kind of grows up with you, and that way you can kind of relax. It's experience at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So parents, focus. Like, really pay attention. Are your kids afraid of speaking in public? Are they scared of presentations that they have in school? If they do, this is your chance to work with them and help them sort of battle a fear that's going to take a very big chunk of their life as they grow up. It gets worse. Puberty especially. Puberty is the worst time to speak in public.
Oh my goodness, well, your voice is changing.
Your voice is weird, you know, and your mannerisms are weird, and your thoughts are weird.
You know, it's interesting because, like you said, even parents encouraging their children, like maybe at home, to, like, you know, perform, exactly, to dance, to sing, you know, to read a poem. Like, if you encourage your children to do that in front of, like, not just only, you know,
you, but neighbors, family members,
at like holidays or just family gatherings,
gotta give a family a concert.
They look forward to that because they're like, I gotta do this, gotta do that, I want to impress everybody, and then they overcome, at least at a younger age. Fear is everything that's learned. Fear is always learned. As we're born, we're not born with fear. We learn fear. And as children, and as opposed to teaching your children, or at least the environment conditioning your children to be afraid of something,
shut up, to be shy, to be
exactly. Which we come from a society in which we have children shut up. We have children sit down. We have children not be seen. If instead we did the opposite, maybe we would have children who in the classroom won't feel fearful of raising their hand and saying something,
asking questions.
So I absolutely think that's definitely something that can start in the home for sure.
Yikana, I was talking about somebody named Yikana, inboxed this on our Telegram before I left. Said, hey Oasis, how are you? He said, on a Diagnostic and Statistical Manual version 5, it is called a social anxiety disorder performance type. And people can either get both pharmacotherapy and psychotherapy. So there are medications. I don't recommend jumping on the medication wagon because, yes, everything has, you can get medicated for just about anything. But so there's two different ways, especially for people who have extreme glossophobia, to treat it. He said, so at times you might need to see a clinician and get therapy, but not all of this is experienced as a disorder. A limited amount of fear can be vital to perform well. So, like I said, it's very few people that need to take that route of seeing a therapist and taking medication in order to overcome their fear of speaking in public.
Like we said, if it's debilitating, yes.
Same when we talk about just having narcissistic behaviors and being diagnosed as a narcissist. Two very wide spectrums. If 95% of people have glossophobia or the fear of speaking in public, not everybody needs medication and therapy.
75.
Yeah, 75.
But like you're right. You can have like you said, a narcissist, or even just somebody who's afraid of speaking. You can have certain traits that make you anxious, but that doesn't mean that it's to the point in which it literally cripples you. So there are people who, a few might fall within that group, but like you said, there are ways in which you can sort of pick up tricks and, habits in which you can teach yourself or you can learn through time. Because I think it's a process. You're not going to be able to do it over time.
Thing, yeah.
Or at once. You do need time. Because I've even seen it myself. I've seen the fact that when I do have more opportunities to do certain things, I do get better. And I think that's just natural for everybody.
I still can't read the news. And I feel like maybe I should have continued to read the news so that I could get more comfortable with reading the news, which you did, but I didn't. So now I feel like if you told me to read news live, I'd freak out, even though I'm perfectly capable of reading out loud. Right. But the thought that it's the news and I don't want to mess up, I'm okay with speaking in front of a bunch of people, but the second you lock me in a room and you turn the on-air light on and you're like, read the news, I forget how to speak.
Practice. All of it, like we said, these tips that we're giving you guys, it's something that you constantly have to be able to allow yourself to do over and over. Ain't nobody perfect out here doing it just once.
So here are some tricks you can use. For one, know your audience. Know who you are speaking in front of. At the end of the day, whatever you've prepared, whatever speech it is you're giving, it's for them. It's not for you. You know it already. So knowing your audience, understanding your audience's ability to take in what you're saying, being able to sell what you're saying, because it's not enough to just speak to them. You have to make them believe it, don't you? They have to buy whatever it is you're selling. They have to be engaged with you. So if you're giving a speech in front of your class or a presentation, you already know your classmates. It doesn't have to be extremely formal. This is what I was saying I like to do. I like to crack a joke at the very beginning.
See, not everybody goes with that, right?
Yes, so this isn't for everybody, and this isn't, I'm not saying like a knock-knock joke. Like for today, for example, I got up, was a little nervous. I did the introductions, and right before I handed off the mic, I turned off the mic, and me and the person I was handing the mic off to had a little joking moment, and we both smiled, and I handed off the mic, and from that point on, I was no longer nervous. So that's something that always put me at ease when you're waiting for like the crowd to settle down. For example, when it's a classroom, I've noticed that, people are rowdy, they won't shut up, so it takes a minute to get the class to calm down and be quiet. So in those minutes, I like to get up in front of the class super quickly and talk to the people in the front row. It relaxes me. Like there's something about it that calms me down. So by the time they're quiet, I can go on about whatever it is I'm doing. So that's my trick. That's the thing that I have up my sleeve. As formal as an event is, I will always find a way to smile about something, and all of a sudden I'm not as scared as I was.
What I used to do was I would see how other people, I would watch on YouTube, or I would watch on TV or whatever, how other people would come on a stage and the energy that they gave. So not necessarily what they said, but the energy that they presented. Because I feel like whatever energy you put out, people, whoever are in the audience, will receive that and sort of give that back to you. So if you're nervous, people who are watching you are also nervous. They're like, what's going on? And if you are like, hi you guys, and if you're just sort of giving positive energy, people feed that and they also give that back to you. So I was always just like, what is the kind of energy? Because it's not always going to be, sometimes it's going to be a little bit more serious. And so what energy do I want to lead with? Because I understand that that's what the audience will give back to me, and that's what I've always tried to lead with.
My next tip is to organize your reading material, flashcards, whatever it is you're bringing with you to speak to people with. If you have a speech, please, or you saw me number the parts where I had to speak because I wrote them in different parts earlier.
Which, by the way, I feel like people who, it doesn't matter even if you've mastered speaking, whatever, I feel like this can even happen to the best of them. You might be like, oh, I don't need my cards, or I don't, and you put it down, and the moment you get up there, you're like, what was I going to say?
What was next?
I feel like you should always have your material. You're absolutely right.
And organize it in a way where you don't mix them up and it no longer makes sense, because part 3 went in part 5 and now none of it.
She did that right before.
I number everything. I make sure I know what to talk about first and then what comes after that, because it doesn't matter how many times you practice it. Today I wrote it down while we were sitting there, but definitely organize your material. Looking for feedback from audience from body language is a tricky one, because I don't necessarily make eye contact with my audience.
I think it depends on who the audience is.
Yes.
So, for example, if it's a one-time thing, not necessarily. If it's people that you might know in the audience, you know what I mean? Some people who are in the audience, or maybe these are people you've constantly spoken in front of, then I can understand what they're feeling based on just their body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, for example, when I used to teach, I could understand how my
sleepy
students
crowd, yeah.
were receiving my lecture, or if they understood my lecture based on their, you know what I mean, the way they move their body. So it really depends on who you're
If
speaking
you
to.
know them well enough,
Yes.
you can definitely judge. I obviously don't look away from the people you're speaking to.
Oh, yeah.
That's rude. But I also don't stare into people's eyes when I do public speaking. I sort of
Look above people's heads.
Yeah, like foreheads. I look at foreheads. I look at everybody's foreheads consecutively.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at you. It feels like I'm looking at you, but I'm not really.
I get that.
Because people distract me. People's conversations distract me. People's gestures distract me, and I'm trying to do my thing.
Yeah.
So I can't be making eye contact with everybody. So that's another nifty trick you can use. Hand gestures and body language is the final one.
I think you got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
What I mean is that sometimes people get a little too anxious, where when they talk, they just do a lot of this, and you're like, yeah, it's distracting from the message that you're trying to give.
The biggest struggle since puberty for the men in my class who were presenting, especially formal speeches, was you know how they twirl their hair.
I don't like that.
You know how they like
But that's like a form of anxiety, you can tell.
And I've never seen a teacher who doesn't hate that to the point where their blood boils, and they will stop a student and be like,
Yeah.
I think touching your hair is one of the loudest signs of
Anxiety?
I'm so nervous right now.
100%.
So definitely don't touch your hair unless it's like a hair product that you're selling.
Yeah.
You don't need to like play with your hair while speaking in public. It's such uncomfortable body language that it discombobulates the audience.
I think the best thing to do, because I think hands are really
Then you don't know what to do with your hands, and I get that too.
But not only that, if you're holding paper or if your hands are out, sometimes your hands shake
yeah.
uncontrollably, and you're like, and this has happened to me even when I'm like comfortable speaking up in front of people, my hands will shake, and I'm like, Lord, not like this. I don't want to go out like this, child.
Like when people pull out a podium, I'm always like,
and you can hold on to it. If you don't have a podium, it's good to like keep your hands like, you know, to your side, or at least, you know, if you feel comfortable enough, then you can like bring it out, and you can like, you know, don't do a whole bunch of movements, but even if you keep it to your side, that's fine. Because if you're like, what do I do? The last thing you want to do is not know where to put your hands while you're talking. But I feel like avoid hand gestures and movements, especially if you're not comfortable.
Yeah. So final thoughts. I think back in my day, we had to practice in front of mirrors, and that's how I knew if when we do big plays, or when I'm expected to give a speech that's rehearsed and I can't have material, I can't look at it, I had to do it in front of a mirror a bunch of times until I got it right. This day and age, y'all all have smartphones. Okay?
That is not how we grew up.
We did not have these tools to improve ourselves.
Right.
Besides everything you do, right before you do have to give a public speech, I want you to set up your phone, record yourself saying the speech, sit down and watch it.
You know what we used to do? Since, like I said, I grew up in the States, we always had presentations.
Yeah.
Always. And it's like, you know, a lot of times, yes, there's group presentations, but it more so focused on like individual presentations and stuff like that. So it might be with like reading poems. It might
book
be
review, yeah.
Yes, and the thing is, I was great at memorization. I could memorize things from top to bottom, and so not so much now. My memory is gone bad.
Can we challenge ourselves to memorize something? Because I don't even know where I'm at mentally.
I don't know, bro. I feel like I'm not as sharp as I used to be, but I'm not not going to put myself down. I think we should challenge ourselves.
I think we should try and memorize something for y'all and perform for y'all. But in this day and age, you can definitely set up a camera, speak to it. There's nobody in the room. There's nobody to be scared of.
I think that's a great thing, because when you look in the mirror, yes, but when you're recording yourself, you can look back and be like, oh, why did I say it like that? Why did I look like this? So you're absolutely right. It's good to look back at yourself.
It's good tools. It's cringy, but I promise you it'll help you improve your public speaking skills. And that's it for today, folks. It's been such a great day. It's been such a fun day. Thank you so much for coming with me.
Of course.
And cheering me on and letting me practice on you. But we've had a fantastic day. We really hope you guys did too. For anybody that's tuned in and listening to this that feels like they struggle with speaking in public, you know, there's so many ways to improve and learn how to do better. You don't have to, you know, keep being afraid but not talking about it with each other.
Yeah.
If 75% have the same fear, you're hardly by yourself.
At all.
All right.
So it's like 3 out of 4 people.
Yeah, so you can, it's just the one person that knows how to do it and be confident when they do it. So this is one of the things that you can improve and work on for yourself, so that in the future, whatever opportunities you have, you can go ahead and grab it. It's a way to boost confidence. It's a way to alleviate a certain amount of anxiety that we all live with.
Yeah.
Because social anxiety is real, bro.
I think, you know, if we're honest, like, everybody can be like, yeah, I can relate. I just think that we're not honest a lot of the times when it comes to things that we're afraid of.
Yeah.
But if we are, we'd realize that we have more things in common than we do different. But yeah, I think this is something we might talk about. We wanted to talk about this topic because it is Mental Health Month, and last week we did talk about, you know, Alzheimer's awareness, and we still wanted to talk about things in, you know, in some, you know, spectrum that relate to mental health. So that's why we talked about, you know, this particular social anxiety, which is public speaking.
You know, and we'll keep it going. We're gonna do a full-on, like, Mental Health Month in May, because that's when Mental Health Awareness Month happens. But even for October, we're going to keep focusing on things that you could do to sort of help your brain develop better.
And
that makes sense.
I think even me and TJ, while we're talking, I think we are always learning things about ourselves.
Yeah, I'm going to try and memorize something just to see if I can still do it, because I could do a couple pages easy.
Yeah?
Word for word easy.
Yes, same.
And I haven't been required to do that since I left high school. So
Hold on, you're saying that you could still do it now, or you're saying that before?
I'm just high school.
Same. I was gonna say
high school.
We're gonna, you know, we'll give ourselves that as an assignment, and then next Friday we'll put ourselves to the test. Yikes. And with that, we're signing out, y'all. We'll see you guys next Friday, same time, same place. If you missed this episode, we're going to post it on our YouTube under our name, Owaze Media, which you can catch under all social media platforms.
Yes, sir. And as we always say,
stay hydrated, make good decisions. Owaze out. Bye.
Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to your new family. It's the Owaze Show with your hosts Fire and TG every Friday from 6 to 8 p.m.
The best music, entertainment, spicy topics, and so much more.
Owaze, let's spice it up.